Hey there, rulers, Demo73 here, bringing you the deck profile for the Mika token spam list from earlier this week. It is a lot of fun. It is showcasing the kind of core concepts of Mika's support suite to slam a whole bunch of tokens on the field as fast as possible. So let's just go ahead and jump right in. This session brought to you by Odyssey Games for pre-orders and sealed product, CCG Prime for tons of singles and supplies, Cardo Doko for international rulers looking for product, and FoulLibrary.com for articles and wonderful deck lists. It's also brought to you by our guest lecturer patrons, wyatt. Class is in session. So this is the Mika token spam list. It is designed to just kind of continually throw aggression at your opponent and play around with combat tricks to keep its hand size really huge and kind of just rush down your opponent in a way that just kind of overwhelms them, especially with really big flyers or just really wide boards that don't really care if they get cleared because you have ways to kind of take advantage of them. Just now realizing that I need to go back in here and grab Sowders real quick. So we'll talk about that kind of as we're going. We are playing the edition here. We're going to just put it in the ruler area. We are playing the edition here for Sowders. It is going to come into play tapped, which is fine. But the main reason is why we want to be able to do that banish a resonator token to gain life equal to its defense. Because we are going to be making a lot of tokens, and so your opponent's going to kill them, so why not make their kill spells feel less good by using them to gain life. It has the optimum bonus of once we get supporters of the rebellion in graveyard, it becomes banish a token, get a supporter, burn your opponent for 2, especially since this is every single time a token is put into the graveyard from your side. And if you have multiple of them, like we're playing 3, 1 token can turn into 3 of these and you burn your opponent for 6 and put 2100 damage on the board, and they just kind of keep coming back over and over again. It's a very nice little trick that you didn't get to see in the feature match, but I really like it, and it's very easy to get them to the graveyard in this deck. We're playing a Child of the Light Moon for a little bit of protection from the combo pieces, as well as being able to protect our kind of go-in turn, as well as Child of the Darkness Moon for always having a combat trick on hand, which is very nice. 3 copies of Decree of Absolution in the deck. We don't need to flip it very often. It mainly is kind of like on turn 4, you're going to flip into Messiah and kind of do what you need to do from there. Either generating a bunch of tokens, making Cecilia really big, tapping down your opponent's stuff to get them out of the way if you need them to. Like Messiah, this card is the quote-unquote win con, which is just kind of important to note. So you really only need to resolve it ever once, which is just fine and actually pretty easy to do once you get started with it. Judgmental Recovery, a wonderful tool to be able to kind of use Mika to just draw free cards and keep your hand very filled, especially since it can also potentially destroy a token your opponent controls. So if your opponent doesn't have a token, it doesn't matter, you can still just banish a token and draw 2 cards for free, which is pot agreed. There you go. 3 copies of Lorite, because we can filter into it off of Darkness Moonchild, and having the availability to play that there is nice, as well as it serving as a chump blocker to potentially turn on Contract. This nice trick brought to me by m.ha is Gleipnir. It's really wonderful to, like you see, force your opponent to block like a token that you gave them, and then you swing your token into it. They have to block, and then it immediately turns on Decree of Absolution immediately, because you have to have both things destroyed, not banished, and so this is just a really nice way to do it. And if you get multiple in hand, it's fine. You just discard it, and you can cycle into a new card. 3 copies of Angel of False Glory. It generates tokens for us, which is really nice. It gets big things out of the way. It is a beater of a card just for 2 will, and we can awaken it. So because we have 3 rulers, so we don't have to worry about losing the game. And there are more flying angel tokens, which is nice, and you can again banish those to gain life and do all kinds of crazy stuff. So really like this card, and really like being able to use it. 2 copies of Perfect Coordination, just a couple. The Unchaseable Kill spell is very nice. The Mastery Punisher is like, we're not playing a ton of Punishers, we're just playing the 4 Cecilia, so it doesn't come up too often, but it's nice when you have it. 3 copies of Judgment of Solari. I wanted to make use of this Marvel Rare so much, and I also wanted to get some value out of Mika's flip that wasn't her swinging, and you can get a lot out of this card, especially since you're tapping your opponent's stuff down, and then they probably have cards in their hand, and like give your other tokens and other things that can let them swing past a board that's been all tapped down, and then follow up with a bunch of damage from Mika to close out the game. So this is a very good card in Mika and in Limited. Overall, I really like this card. I probably would cut it down to 2 in the long term. 2 copies of Apollon, because Edition Hate is really good right now, and this is removed from game, so it doesn't care if a Returnal can't be, if a thing can't be destroyed. This is particularly helpful against those decks that are like, hey, First Moon plus wall. You just remove the wall, and then you're good to go, because it doesn't say it can't be targeted, it just says it can't be destroyed. So Apollon says, nope, get that off the game, which is really nice. 4 copies of Inquisitor. This card is insane. The fact that it cantrips, the activate ability is just each player gets a token, so it's really, really nice, especially if your Solari gets destroyed, to generate those tokens on both sides of the field. It gets cheaper for every token your opponent gives, and then also you're like, oh, I gave you a bunch of tokens. I still want to be able to attack, so I'm just going to play this guy for 1, tap them all down, and keep them locked for as long as I need to. His discard affects cantrips, which is the biggest part about it. That just makes him really, really good. In my opinion, standard 4 of in this deck. Also, another standard 4 of Cecilia. This card is insane for this deck. You generate anytime a token gets sent from the graveyard to the field from either side, she gains +2/+2. And so, which usually means is she can be kind of your finisher following up from Mika, especially if you've already performed contract with Messiah, because she'll become a 10/10 flying base. And then you just banish a token to Solari, gain the life, and she gets +2/+2 in swiftness each time you banish a token. So it's like swing with a token, banish it, pump up Cecilia. Swing with a token, banish it, pump up with a Cecilia. And so she just by herself as a 1-drop can easily just like one-shot your opponent for like 2600 damage if your opponent's not paying attention. Little fun package is we're playing a couple of Grecias, because we're playing so many children moon fragments, he can get pretty big. Also, it's just more discard fodder, which is nice. And then we also do have the headshot if we need to be able to make use of Grecia. I just wanted to make use of his cards a little bit in this package, as help to get other cards to the graveyard. Sealed One-Eyed Dragon, phenomenal card. If you can find a way to play it in a deck, you absolutely should play it. It's just a great card overall for situations where you got to close out games because your opponent's just like that little low, or a combat trick to win a trade, or anything else like that. Very, very nice. And then Supporter of the Rebellion, like we said, 3 copies to close it out. Stone base wise, 2 Fire Fragment, 4 Light Fragment, and 4 Adorakti's Memoria, because that's a black, white, red stone, which is every color we need. We're only really white, red, and then filter into green sometimes, but mostly just, white, red is enough. It gets us there. So that is the deck. Let me know how you guys have been playing Mika. I know that Derek's list from the KCVille GP was very different from this, but I took a few inspirations from it, particularly seeing how good Judgmental Recovery actually can be. But let me know your thoughts in the comment sections down below. The link to this deck list on Fat Force of Wind is in the description. And until next time, this is DMO73 saying class dismissed.